Hello everybody, it's your favorite West Virginia now in space here, and Mario Kart. Easily one of the biggest gaming franchises even outside of just being part of Mario. It's a classic among young and old alike. And that does lead to the question, with pretty much every game being a smash hit, which were the best, or which were the worst? That is of course the question I will seek to answer today. Of course, this is my opinion, so if you disagree or agree, feel free to comment down below in your list. Anyway, so I'm gonna jump right into this, but as a fair warning, a whole lot of this is gonna be colored by nostalgia. In fact, you won't need just nostalgia glasses. No, you'll need super nostalgia glasses. No, wait, you will need the golden throne of nostalgia. So, with that in mind, sit down and let's begin. Number 6, we have Super Mario Kart, or the original Mario Kart. Yes, I've played this one. And honestly, it has to be in the worst place of the Mario Kart games I've played. It's fun, but it definitely shows that this was their first attempt. You know, this wasn't the refined products we get later. This was the prototype, a proof of concept almost. It has a lot of traits that are weird to play, especially going backwards with like how items work and how the AI just does not seem to work correctly, and how punishing falling off a cliff or just not doing things correctly can be. So overall, it's still pretty fun, but it's definitely an inferior product compared to the others. Still fun to waste a few hours on though. 5th place, we have Mario Kart 8. And I know that sounds very weird to put one of the newest games right after one of the oldest games. And specifically, I'm referring to the Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, not the deluxe version, which I consider separate games. Anyway, Mario Kart 8 is definitely better than Super by a mile and a half, and don't even get that compared. But compared to the others, I still think it has some flaws. It does maintain the air and water stuff that I'll get to later that the 3DS had, but the anti-gravity stuff is incredibly fun, but I do feel it's a bit not polished correctly. I feel like there's like little bits where things could have been just a little bit better that kind of overall affect the experience. But the new items and characters are a blast, and the graphics are the absolute best in any Mario Kart game. That's just an objective fact. However, its lack of proper battle modes like balloons and coins or any kind of stuff like that, which, by the way, the Super Mario also suffered from, definitely hurts the overall prop because it doesn't have like traditional like maps you play on. Instead, it has is just normal courses. It's weird. But overall, still an incredible blast to play, and don't even get me wrong on that, but there is a reason it's on number 5th. It's just the others are better in my opinion. Number 4th spot, we have Mario Kart 7, or Mario Kart for the 3DS. This is the game that introduced the whole, like, flying/gliding and going underwater thing, which hugely changed future maps and how you could play the game. And honestly, it lives up to these expectations. I still love it. It's quite a blast to play. And honestly, I think it's a little bit better than 8 because overall, it just kind of feels like a bit more of a polished product. I mean this gameplay-wise, not graphically. Graphically, the Wii U still beats it for obvious reasons. But even then, the 3DS is still amazing. Like, don't knock it down. Also, it's one of the few 3DS games where the 3D actually works and doesn't make my brain hurt. So, you know, that's helpful. Also, it had proper, battle systems. It wasn't the best, but overall pretty good. I like the ability to actually steer the 3DS to act as it. It's not something I do consistently, but it is fun for a novelty. And overall, it's just a really polished product. I think it's very much I don't want to say standard, but it definitely was a good, building off the refinement that previous games made. But overall, very good, like most Mario Kart games. Let's move on. We're in the top 3. Let's go to the 3rd place winner, which is Mario Kart Double Dash. You know, this isn't my first Mario Kart game, as the 64 technically beats it, but I don't have much memories of it. But man, the Double Dash is what I think of when I think of classic Mario. Which, admittedly, it has a weird quirk compared to the DS game having 2 characters on one car, and the ability to play with 2 people on one car. But honestly, I kind of, though I don't prefer it to the normal mode of like 1 player, 1 car, and 1 character, I honestly wish it would come back as like an alternative mode. Like, I don't know, maybe they could release it as a DLC for 8 Deluxe or something, because it was a novel concept. I don't prefer it overall, but I would love to have it make a comeback as like an alternate mode. I think it could work great for. And honestly, it was kind of a blast being able to. It's surprising how efficient you can be with 1 person driving and 1 person dealing with items if you know what you're doing correctly. It's amazing the coordination you can have. And though the stages are limited compared to some later titles, I still love them. Each one was amazing, and the unlockables just felt like actually cool. And some of the stages, I think honestly the Double Dash has some of the best stages ever. Like, Donkey Kong Mountain in that game, perfecto. Daisy's cruise ship, also great. And by far, and this is something I'm gonna say, it had the best like battle mini game type things like Balloon Battle and Bob-Ombs out of any games. Even the ones I'm gonna cover fire of the list, Double Dash did it better pretty much every time. Overall, it very much deserves the third place. Now for the second place silver winner, we have Mario Kart DS. This one is by far what I think of when I think of the purest distillation of Mario Kart. If you were to ask me what would generic Mario Kart look like to you, Will, it would probably look like the DS version. And honestly, it's still a classic. It still holds up great. It has the much more normal kart system that future games would have. It has a surprising amount of stages looking back on it. Like, it has even more than the GameCube, which thinking about it is kind of weird now. Think about some. It has a wide selection of characters and karts, and honestly, it's a very refined, distilled version. Not distilled, but very, like, polished version. It has, like, the polished I think some of the, like, 8 just didn't have. And it was just great. It's endlessly replayable. The karts are good. The controls feel amazing, as very important. And though the minigames, like battle things like balloons and bomb-ombs and such, aren't quite as good as my opinion as the GameCube had it still had that really fun mode where if you're in multiplayer, you could come back as like a ghost. You know what I mean? In which me and my sister would just over-dramatize the heck out of it. And I love it, and I want that to come back so I can do it all over again. And more kids can have those pseudo-traumatizing stories. The good old days. But anyway, also it had one of the coolest features of making your own icon. I don't know why that was so cool, it just kind of is. Anyway, let's move on to our number one winner. Let's warn you with the number one winner, I haven't actually played every single Mario Kart game, or I've played them a little bit but don't have enough memories or skill with to honestly put. So that's why I'm referencing one game that I'm not putting one game that I referenced earlier in here, even though I've technically played it, but I haven't played some of the games at all. And that's why in number one spot we got Mario Kart for the Wii. Yes, I am going to officially say that in my personal opinion, the Wii version of Mario Kart was the absolute best version of Mario Kart. Now, it wasn't necessarily the best at the battles, like I mentioned, GameCube still has that beat, but it was just perfect. First of all, don't knock these Wii graphics. In my opinion, they still hold up, and in some ways, they're almost better than some of the stuff the Wii U puts out. I think sometimes the Wii U and 3DS can be a bit too shiny, but this one, it kind of got almost a slightly grittier feel that I kind of like out of it. And the kart bike dynamic was very fun in this game. I just loved that. It was like an actual trade-off, and those flips you could do in the air on a turnpike kind of thing were just amazing. The courts were wild, varied, a good selection, and honestly, it was just the most polished Mario Kart experience ever. It has a lot of, it's not technically super innovative as some of the other games are, but it just polishes that perfect feel of just riding down a court, and some of the things could be just so neck and neck. And honestly, I think it's still the best. And I don't mean to say that, once again, the games that came out are bad, not by any stretch. I just think the Wii one was the best one they ever made. But ultimately, that's just my opinion. What do you think? Please answer in the comments down below how you would rank this list. Or, put the other games that I haven't played enough to honestly say. But anyway, I'll see you next time. So for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, they need to put together every single version of Rainbow whatever into one massive Grand Prix, and you can unlock a special skin for each character called Rainbow or Nightmare skin. If you manage to beat all of them, get first place, and not fall down once. That needs to be a thing. Release it now. Yeah. Hey, why don't you hit that sub button? You're gonna become a subscribble. Get to see my content quicker. Wouldn't that be nice? I bet so.